Hello and welcome to Chit Chat Wednesday here on the JTrain podcast. We're going to start doing these intros before every episode. Just to let you know what's coming, today's guest is Juliet Litman from the Ringer Network. She's fantastic. I love talking with Juliet. I love getting her perspective, especially in the, we share a lot of loves. We love reality TV. We care about it. We want it better. We like The Bachelor, but we also get mad at the Bachelor franchise. We talk a lot about how we could make The Bachelor better and what we hope for it, but I think we both kind of feel that it's probably not going to happen. They're probably just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Then we get into food culture, and she gives a great recommendation for a ramen place. We are in ramen season. Great food rec. We talk about what we eat on the airplanes. I can't even believe what Juliet does on an airplane, which you're going to have to listen. You can give your opinion in the comments. And then lastly, we get into a little bit Blake Lively, Taylor Swift. What's the likability of a Blake Lively, a Ryan Reynolds? Great conversation. Oh, also a lot of Tom Brady talk. So just a fun episode, a great chit chat. I want you to comment. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you agree, what you disagree with, and enjoy today's show. Boom. Welcome to the new JTrain podcast. Hello and welcome to the JTrain podcast. This is JTrain Jared Freid coming to you live from the West Village of Manhattan. It's a Chit Chat Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I hang out with a friend over Zoom. We do a little chit chat to get you through the hump day. Today I'm joined by the wonderful, the hilarious, the insightful, the co-host of Food News, a show that I love to listen to, as well as a show that I love to be a guest on, Bachelor Party podcast. Juliet Litman, thank you for coming on.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. This is, I think, my first time on your Chit Chat pod, so thanks for having me. What a delight.
This is, the Chit Chat Wednesday is new-ish. It's, but it's in the same, I just basically was like, let's do something where it's like, we can talk about anything and everything, whatever you'd like, and just, I think people only people I like talking to. So that's the other thing.
Well,
I don't want to force
why
a
subject
guest
yourself
situation
to someone that you can't talk to easily?
Well, sometimes people come on, you give it a shot, and you go, I guess.
You're like, okay, this is a never again. Nice to know you.
You know how that is, I'm
totally.
Sure.
Totally.
Here's what I want to ask you
Okay.
before anything else. Tonight is the night. It is Fantasy Suites, I think, for Golden Bachelorette.
Yes, it is. That's correct.
I haven't watched it yet. I don't know if the screeners have come. I probably have to watch it after we're done now that I literally just remembered. How do you feel about the Golden Bachelorette season in general? Have you watched?
Of course, I've watched it.
No. Have you watched the Fantasy Suites already?
I did. I can't say it got my full attention. I'll have to do a second watch before I do my pod.
So I guess that would tell people how you feel about this season.
Here's the thing. Joan seems great. She'd be a great person to have join your family. She seems like a great mom. She seems like a great grandma. Joan, would recommend. She seems great. The guys are so boring that there's just not a lot here for me. I miss the zaniness of the women dancing in the pool together, and I miss all of the friendships that came with the previous season. And these guys like each other, but it's sort of like letting Martians who have been in isolation since they arrived on Earth get to hang out with each other. All these guys act like they haven't had a natural social moment with another man of their age in so long, and it's not really fun. It's just kind of sad, honestly.
I think you're right. I mean, this season has put a huge shined a huge light on male friendships
And how they don't exist.
Yeah, after the age of, I guess, 30.
50? Oh, 30.
But
you have a lot of friends, though.
I have a lot of friends, but it starts now. I notice, when would I get to, listen, walk around New York City in some of the hot neighborhoods on a Wednesday, Thursday night, it's all young women having dinner, chatting.
Well,
and it not a lot of table of two men sitting across from each other. It's just not how we interact. And then that goes years and years and years, and you get into your 60s and these guys are, single, and it's like you're not on a golf course, and they're just forced to open up. I don't think anyone's ever asked them how they felt. It feels like. The Martian thing is correct. I think that's the best way to put it.
Guy, one of the final three, his name is Guy. He's from Reno, Nevada. He's an ER doctor. He is so boring that they go out of their way to show him less than everyone else. I guess he doesn't really talk that much or something. I don't really know, but there is nothing to the man. And I would say there's nothing wrong with him, except he did have a domestic dispute incident, which is kind of only notable because The Bachelor has such a hard time casting people who are not remotely problematic for whatever reason. But the fact that he made it to final three is a real indictment of all the other guys, because there just has not seemed to be anything remarkable or special about him, and their connection was non-existent until a week ago.
Yeah, I'm with you on Guy. It's and then also they kind of just they kind of hint at his backstory. It's almost like he was haunted. The way they talk about his
haunted
past.
by his marriage, yeah.
Yeah, it is his past is just so seemingly dark. It just seems like it really was a horrific divorce that even the brothers and sisters who all have G names as well,
yeah,
are not.
Guy, Galen, no, was Galen one of them? No,
Garrett.
On
Gail.
my podcast with Callie, we were talking about G names, and she mentioned she had an uncle named Galen. But yeah, they all had G names.
Yeah, it was very Western frontier to me, very frontiers people to have the G name thing. I would also say that Joan isn't. I kind of look back. In the beginning, I like Joan, and I agree with you. Good mother, good grandmother. I'm sure she's fantastic, but it seemed to have been a looks play more than a personality play.
I think it's because she left in such an emotional fashion that gave people something to root for with her. But I don't really know that there's a big future for single relationship dating shows. I think the sort of the ones that simulate a closer approximation of some of the social aspect that coexist with dating seems to work a lot better. Because I don't know, just the other dating shows that have multiple people interacting instead of just the one lead and a horde of people vying for them are just way more entertaining at this point.
Yeah, I guess the Cinderella of it all. You really need a lead. Okay, so this is a question that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Two questions. It's twofold. So you seem to think that the Bachelor Bachelorette kind of model is losing its steam, dying off as a model, the one person who's the lead being chased by 30 people. It's a tough thing to push on.
Yeah, I think there was a period of time where The Bachelor was really popular as escapist fare for the demo that I'm a part of, college educated women in their 20s and 30s. I think there was something fun about it. There was the communal aspect, people watched in groups. There there was an escapist fantasy of it. There just used to be more appealing people on it, I think.
Right.
I think it's kind of expired past that point, and now it's harder to imagine. And I think that the fact that they always cast these leads who are kind of the every person or aren't that remarkable, but you could project something onto them. I don't know if that works anymore. I'm way more interested in seeing someone who's a known quantity as the lead to see what happens and how people react.
I totally agree with you. I think I want the person to be out of my league. I want to be wow, this is the catch of all catches. I think
for example,
go ahead.
This would never happen. Tom Brady, he posted a really weird Instagram this week.
I saw that. Explain it to people. That was and it's on the day. I saw someone making fun of it, and I was like, this is a wild post without making fun of it.
Yes. So Giselle, it came out that Giselle's having a child with her jiu-jitsu boyfriend, who I don't think that many people would really know about, except that Kevin Hart was so funny about calling him the karate boyfriend at the roast of Tom Brady that I feel like he got like more famous than he would have. So Giselle and Tom Brady have been divorced for 2 years. I think she was cheating on him. It's unconfirmed, but I think she was cheating on him with her jujitsu instructor.
That's what people say, yeah.
Yeah. Now she's pregnant with his child. And when the news came out on like page 6, Tom Brady posted a picture of like the sunset and Landslide by the Chicks, the cover of the Fleetwood Mac song. And it was just like a really emo post that Tom Brady just put out there. And I think that kind of like, and then also he's having a controversy this week because he used like a slur to describe Josh Allen.
I didn't see that.
Well, you're not reading page 6 hourly like I am.
Well, page 6 is my Thursday show. We'll get to that tomorrow.
So I think like Tom Brady, who's kind of been like a little bit like disgraced by, I just think people consider him a joke. I certainly do. I think it'd be funny if someone like that.
I'll say, as a Tom Brady fan and defender, and you were the first person I really met that had like the most accurate like feedback to I love Tom Brady.
Absolutely not.
No, you were like, no, this guy,
he's a loser.
No good. He's
actually a loser. Yeah,
and
he's incredible. He's the most winningest loser of all time.
I am like brought up on Tom Brady.
Sure.
I look at him under this glow of like Super Bowls and overcoming the odds. And then you had a hole in my story that I'd never really thought of. I told it was that he basically left a pregnant woman.
Yes, he left Bridget Moynihan when she was pregnant.
And I never thought of that in my. Again, I missed that, and I was like, man, it took a little pin and popped the balloon very slowly, and then since you've said that, he has just aged
terribly.
in a way like, oh my God, my dad divorced my family, and now he's lost his mind.
Now
like
I see him for who he is, which is
right.
A man has lost his way. Without the crisp movements in the pocket, you're just really not getting the same impressive man.
There was a way to tell his story that was very impressive, and it loses steam every day, and especially him being this announcer who like
is not good at his job.
Right, he's not as good as Greg Olsen. Yeah. And I did a whole podcast basically about how he is now seeing what it's like to be Mitch Trubisky, the person that was given too much money based on their talent and then has to play up to the money they're being paid, and how he can now. And I wonder if he even sees this. Like,
I don't know. But the landslide moment is like a turning point. We're just like, wow, he's kind of like admitting defeat on something.
Right.
And like he always wins at football. But I just think he'd be a really funny bachelor. Obviously, he wouldn't do it. Too famous, too rich. But someone like that who you like consider, or you've like been along for the ride with them, and you're just like,
right.
Yeah. And now they're kind of like down on their luck when it comes to love, and their ex is having a baby. And honestly, I think Bridget Moynihan seems like she has a lovely life. They figured out the co-parenting thing. Think she's doing great. He'd be really funny. Like, I am so much more interested in someone whose like dating history I have followed, being The Bachelor, than someone who's brand new. And so I think they need to go with like a semi-famous person.
I agree with you. Martha Stewart just turned down, Andy Cohen hypothetically gave Martha Stewart $1 million to do the Golden Bachelorette. Mm-hmm. She said no. She's like, the guys are too ugly, which I was like, okay, that's not like, that's
incredible feedback, Martha Stewart. Incredible.
Yeah, like Martha showing her true self, maybe that's a stick to cooking and flatware moment for Martha Stewart. No, I'm with you. I've always been a proponent of like, super successful, like The Bachelorette was always the show where I wanted a woman in her 30s, 40s who like was crushing it in a way that like the men could be, you'd be like, these men should be lucky, and like they all see it. Like I don't know, they never seem to get it. I definitely think this show is just like, it's a trust fund kid. Like, it doesn't really have to work hard. It has this cushy slot. People are going to watch it. What do you think? So to go into another show, What are your thoughts on Love is Blind? What has been your
I love it.
opinion?
I'm shocked by people who don't like it. I don't understand. It is at its baseline, like at its baseline, it is alcohol, and like at its best, it is crack. It is so addictive and so fun.
You couldn't be more right. I think the only good feedback on the Love is Blind franchise is the pods move slow, but you need that. That's like what you have to eat. That's like the salad you have to eat to get to the meal. Like if you don't eat that, like if you don't work your thread, if you don't get the pods, you don't get the beautiful, mess that is, Hannah and Nick. Like
oh my God.
You don't get to witness. And yeah, I'm with you. It's a great show. And it's also like you said before, like I think this is what we're looking for, is like that's as realistic as it gets to watch a relationship kind of play out in front of us on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest flaw with this season, and what people I've noticed on Reddit people responding to, is there's a lot that happens off camera, and then they like pick up midway through a fight, and you see them like sitting down, they're clearly rehashing their fight for the cameras. Like that's the biggest issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how you fix that, except to like introduce more of like a real world style approach to the homes. But I think that like they kind of can't do that. Honestly, they probably have to pay people more, and I don't think they want to do that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think someone pointed out to me that they got rid of, at one point they go away from face-to-camera interviews, and then they come back to it. Like, they need more face-to-camera interviews. I think they need more prying from the producers, and they don't seem to know what we want. Like, I really, it's like annoying. To me, it's hard to not like put this blame on Nick and Vanessa Lachey, where like I
certainly
in my
not
mind,
their fault. They have no power.
I know, but in my mind, they're in the editing bay being
mean,
like, no, ask them if they're gonna have a baby, and I'm like, I like they're
Vanessa's
so
the only
bad,
question.
right? They're so bad at their job as hosts that I have to assume that it's because of them somehow.
I won't blame them a lot for the reunion, but the actual making of the show, they have no control over, at all. I guess I need to manipulate them a little bit more. I guess I think one of the challenges, but also one thing that's good about it, is like when they get back from the vacation, they have access to their friends and their family. So like they have access to reality.
Right. That's what we want.
Yeah. But it also, I think, makes it a little bit harder to control for. And like, how do you control for like Ramses finding out the night before he's supposed to get married that like his ex-wife is actually getting married, and then he like pulls out? You know what I mean? No pun intended.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
So he found out the night before. That's the thing. Like there are people like, we've done the Love is Blind recaps on the U Up YouTube channel, and Candace, who works with us on the U Up podcast, like she's like down the rabbit hole of like, and there's some people that are so, I'm like, I have like a knowledge of what's going on based on the show and a little bit of TikTok, but then you get like an ex of the guy who donated his sperm. She's got like a whole chalkboard behind her.
I'll never get
and
that
like
time back watching her videos.
I mean, her videos, they go on, and you're like, I'm like, I can't. I have a life to lead, like I like
to watch with Reddit open, but I'm disappointed this season. Nobody tracked down the marriage licenses. Like, they didn't make it onto Reddit. Usually it does, of like who's still married.
Oh, I would never. I can't. I like to follow the show while it's happening as I see it. I don't know. I
don't you usually watch it ahead of time?
I do, but like,
so I do too. So that way it kind of like can't be spoiled. Like, I really like watching the pod. Like usually I'll watch like all the pod episodes before they go live, and so I like. I love watching in a vacuum. Like, also, I like my opinions about Love is Blind are so pure because I like they're not tainted by what anyone else thinks. I'm just I'm having fun.
We had a quick conversation about this, and it was interesting to see that you loved it as much as I did. Just that feeling of like coming to your own conclusions, like because we're watching it before anyone gets to it, and it's like, I don't know, maybe these shows would be better off like doing it like Bachelor Style once a week. Do we go back to like not putting them out in groups? Like I kind of, would these shows be helped by not being put out in clumps like once a week? Because I think the binge of it all, the only reason people are binging is because I think they feel like they can and they have to, because the TikTok stuff. So it's like,
Right.
if we were just held.
That's not why I binge. Sorry, I keep interrupting
Why
you.
do you, no, it's okay. Why do you binge?
Because they end every episode on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, I want to know what happens
Right.
in the pod. They do a good job.
But I just think if but if there was a cliffhanger and you didn't have the show to watch, you wouldn't do it. And then we'd at least get a week of to discuss things. But
Right.
I think we miss out a little bit on that,
I like how they do it with Love Is Blind. The shows that they do all like Bridgerton and like Emily in Paris, which you probably don't watch either.
No.
Those coming in 2 drops, I find annoying. I wish those were week over week because those are such water cooler shows, but there's no time for it to like percolate. And
right.
I wish, yeah. So I think I felt like more was scripted. With unscripted, I'm usually like, yeah, just give it to us all at once. But
You know what else I miss? Bread.
What's that?
Are you skipping out on the Thanksgiving stuffing because you're afraid of the carbs? Hero Bread is here to save the day. We have 2 sponsors tonight, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. They are in the description of this episode. I love Hero Bread because all of us want to be more efficient with our bread. We want bread, but you want the bread with the least amount of carbs, the least amount of sugar, the least amount of calories, and that's where Hero Bread comes in. They have all different types with delicious 0 to 1 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, whole lot of fiber. Cozy up with a grilled cheese, have some Hawaiian rolls with dinner. Check out their tortillas, burger buns. They have all the types of carbs that you want, and they're making them specifically so you can have a tortilla with less carbs than the normal tortilla. There you go. Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order of their new recipe. So go to hero.co and use code JTrain at checkout. That's JTrain at HERO.co. Okay, one last sponsor. And all this is about health, getting healthier. Lumen. I love what Lumen's doing. When we're trying to get our nutrition on point, we don't always want to be bugging our gym rat friends with questions. Lumen lets you have your own metabolic coach right in your pocket. The Lumen device measures your metabolism through your breath. The app will then let you know if you're burning mostly fat or carbs, or even gives you advice on how to help improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even your stress level. Here's the thing. I track my steps. When I track my steps and I get to 9,000, I say, you know what? I'm going to go outside and get that extra 1,000. This is what Lumen's going to do for you. It's going to let you know how your day's going. You're going to be a little bit better than you would have been without a Lumen. And I think I use the device. You breathe right into it. It's cool to have on your phone. It's something fun to track. It's easy to use. Just breathe in a device first thing in the morning, before and after workouts and meals. Lumen will give you an idea of what's going on with your body in real time so you know and you can make the right decisions for your body for the rest of the day. It's about efficiency, just like the bread. It's efficiency. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/JTrain to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/JTrain for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring today's episode. So that's our sponsors, 2 of them in the description of this episode. On the subject of food, you are the co-host of Food News. I love
sure am.
that
Thank you.
Love that podcast. So much fun. What is best recent meal you had?
I mentioned this on Food News if you listened, and I recently had ramen, a really good vegetarian miso ramen at Apudo.
Apudo. I have been trying to go to Apudo for like years.
I have a tip.
Well, it's there's always a line there, right? It's in Flatiron.
There's 3 locations. Here's my tip.
Okay.
One of the locations is on 51st Street between 8th and 9th.
Okay.
And if you go on a Monday, it's not crowded because all of the theaters are dark. So there's no like theater crowd. There's not like a lot of tourists. That's when I went. I was able to just walk on in. It's so worth it. Apudo is also amazing because it's been open in the city for like 10, 11 years at this point. And
with lines forever, though, right?
Yeah, there's constantly a line. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I've been on a real ramen kick. It is the best ramen. I've been like getting ramen since I had that, trying to like hope it's as good as Apudo, and it's just not. Like, it is so delicious. I got to go back. I absolutely loved
What
it.
about their ramen is making and we are officially in ramen season.
Totally.
So
You're
this
wearing
is
flannel.
like
I'm wearing long sleeves. It's cozy.
We're in.
You can't see, but I'm wearing like house socks to keep my feet warm, like double lined.
When the house socks are on, the ramen is going to get eaten. That is,
Exactly.
those are the rules. These are the rules. Yeah, no, I love this. What makes a good ramen to you? Because I always get to a ramen place and I'm like, I want ramen. And then I'm like, I'm always kind of lost. It's the Asian, food that misses my expertise.
So I've taken a turn towards veggie ramen, and that's made all the difference for me. I don't love the piece of pork they put in. I don't mind like the pork based broth, but I just have found that like a veggie miso is like really my sweet spot.
What's on top of it? So I agree with you. I always feel like I'm eating it and I'm just eating it because it's here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What is the veggie option that goes on top of a veggie ramen?
Like they'll have it tofu, an egg, corn. Sometimes there's like some bok choy. Sometimes there's broccoli. But I would say
tofu makes sense.
Tofu, corn, like scallions are kind of like fundamental to the veggie ramen experience. I also feel like at a lot of Asian restaurants, particularly Japanese, I feel like there's no kind of, I feel like in some like more Western food, choosing the veggie option is like a statement. Whereas I feel like with like Japanese food, they treat vegetables so well that it's just kind of like another option versus being like, oh, I'm a vegetarian, or like, nope, can't have that. It's not a statement,
Right.
it just is.
It just is. It's like when I get like, if I was to get like a vegetarian fried rice, it's not like I'm like, oh, look at me. Yeah, no,
You're just like,
would
I'm
never
having
think
this
of it
other
that way.
variation. Yeah, it's like,
Right.
not, yeah, exactly. And I just feel like also like at a place like Han Dynasty, which is Chinese food, not Japanese, but like the base is like scallions, and then you add chicken, or like it's like the preparation is like a certain way, and then like it could be, then you choose your protein, could be tofu, could be whatever. And I just feel like that's more common with the Asian food in the city.
Right. It's like getting a salad that's good on its own and you can add protein. Like the vegetarian, it stands up to the other options.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like an alternative or like somehow inferior. So yeah, Apudo ramen is so good. There's 3 locations. I've been to the East Village one and the Theater District one, and those are just like both always poppin'. But they're so good.
Are you a pho fan?
No, it's not enough flavor for me.
Not so blown away by this fact. I love a pho. Not enough flavor. So
Maybe
ramen
I'm doing it
flavor.
wrong.
When I go to I've gone to ramen places like on the West Coast and like done the like sit down to it and like fully sweat
funny.
while having it.
I associate pho with my San Francisco years, so that's funny.
Really, I've never gotten a pho in San Francisco. I would more opt for dim sum or a ramen situation in that part of the country.
Yeah, I had a lot of pho when I lived in San Francisco, and I like faked liking it. I was like, yeah, this really isn't for me. I think part of it is I often don't like the meat that's in it, and like some and like just like some of the vegetables and stuff. I don't know. I just don't like it nearly as much as ramen. Or I like an udon soup.
Love an udon soup.
Okay,
love an udon noodle, and then that's a big New York Times crossword word.
Oh,
they
all
love
the time.
using udon
All the time. If you're ever in Paris, which you probably will be.
Yeah, Paris is one of those places that like I don't see why I would go, but I'll definitely go at some point. I'll be forced to go.
Have you not been there?
Never. I went to Sofra and that's it.
Oh my God, just Sofra. Okay. A friend of mine went to your show last week and she mentioned that you were saying Sofra and she thought it was so funny.
It's so stupid.
In her retelling me of your set, she actually highlighted that, just so you know.
It gets a laugh. It's actually, I took it from a buddy of mine. He was a big Sofra user and I was like.
Does he know that you're saying that?
Of course. Yeah, I think he does. He's probably listening right now. Yeah.
Okay, well, here's the deal. I guess this won't apply to you, but when I was in Paris, also the theme for me is with udon soup and ramen soup. These are two meals that I like to have alone. I'm like, because you can sit at the bar.
Right.
I will have them with someone else, but like my Apudo, I went with a friend. I was in Paris by myself a couple years ago, and I went to this place, Kunitoraya, and I read about it on the Goop Guide to Paris, which was really great. And it is like I have the
Gwyneth Paltrow told you sent you there. Okay,
exactly.
Tell him Gwyneth sent you.
And it was so memorable. I had the tempura shrimp udon, and it is literally one of the best things I've ever eaten. It was 18 months ago, and I still think about it all the time.
Wow. Well, this is actually bringing me to food recommendations like bother me, and I think they're like when you get a good one, you will cherish that person's opinion. When they're thoughtful, I actually think higher of the person. When you go somewhere, what is your go-to for like researching food in an area? Because I have a strategy that I live by, but I mean, I think the way people look for recommendations is like almost as helpful as the recommendation.
Yeah, that's a great question. I tend to get out Google Maps and I search for the thing that I want and I see like what comes up. And then I cross-check it with like has any like looking for reviews for it in like my browser. But I actually start on maps. I like to know what's nearby. I like to know where it is. I'm not necessarily like willing to just like go someplace completely random, so I want to know like where it is. And they show you the rating.
The Google rating I never trust that much, but that is to me wide. You've gone real wide. Like I go Eater, put in the city, and then they have the Eater 38. They have like the places you need in this city. Those are kind of the articles, and they do. And you have to look at when the last time they were updated because some cities those articles have been
it's like from like 2019,
right? And you're like, oh my god,
anything pre-COVID. I mean,
game
is
over.
It even still open? Yeah, like
you end up at a place and it's just an alley with like a rat running by, and you're like, what society used to exist? You can't believe it.
I did an unusual thing for Americans, which is I went to Naples in June and I spent a couple nights there. Usually people go for like one night on their way to like the Amalfi Coast or whatever, but I spent 3 nights there. And one night it was with my friend Catherine, and she like really wanted to have like Asian food, and I was like, yeah, sure, we're in Naples, but why not?
When I was studying abroad, Chinese food in Italy was the most delicious meal, like the most unbelievable.
We had Korean food in Italy.
Okay,
and I found it just by searching for like Japanese, and somehow I ended up with that. And in my Maps app, and I was like, yeah, this looks like convenient enough, and it was great. Like it was memorable, and like sometimes you do want to mix it up. I was in Italy for 10 days. I didn't need to have Italian food for 30 meals.
No, and what you find with like getting another, specialty in Italy is like they do care about the preparation of the food in a way that's like very Italian.
Yeah,
like the orders were like smaller. Like it was like. I remember it being like, this is like the most delicious, like, and it did taste a little different, like in the way different. American Chinese food would.
Totally. So yeah, I'm like a really big proponent of using your Google Maps, and like I like to walk and explore that way. Also, I will say, as silly as it sounds, the Goop travel guides are really good. I'm not a huge Gwyneth Paltrow fan. Yeah, they're awesome. They're really good.
I can't think of a person that I would trust less with my food decisions.
She doesn't write them herself.
I know, but she's the face of the company.
They're good, especially for like bougie places. Like her
unbelievable.
The recommendations in Paris, I said hers, like she wrote it, were really great. I went to the udon place, and then I just like kind of wanted to do some like off the beaten path shopping, and so I like took a bus on like a Sunday morning. I was like one of 2 people on the bus because everyone else is like sleeping or in church, and I went to this like authentic French flea market on like the outer edge of Paris, and it was so awesome. I loved it.
And that was Goop recommended?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This is, I mean, people got their money's worth out of this podcast today because this is something I never would have, like the idea of like, because Goop gets such...
It derided so much, yeah.
People really don't like that company, like,
or they love it. Yeah, it's one or the other.
Or they obviously it's surviving, so someone's buying their stuff. But like, the public face of Goop has really been given shit over the years.
The travel guides from Goop are honestly awesome. I really recommend them.
Okay, so we're in the world of food, but we're gonna come out of it to talk about. Have you been, I do like this question because I think I get asked this all the time, but I have no relation to the topic, but I think people have, what's your airplane snack of choice?
Oh God, it's tough. I think this is going to be a controversial answer.
It's okay. I'm a no snack airplane guy.
I like to bring a full-on meal with me on the plane. Okay. Like a sandwich or a bagel, like a portable meal.
Yeah, this is not going to work on this podcast. I can't recommend. If this
so
is
you
what's
raw
going
dog
on
it
Goop,
with food?
No food. Whatever they give me, I eat before. I can't. the idea of going and buying a bag of whatever at Hudson News.
It's always a mistake. Yeah, I don't really buy stuff. I honestly tend to bring snacks with me. I'm like in my late 30s.
Tupperware?
No, but I have this was left over in my fridge. I guess I'll bring it with me.
No, okay, we're moving on. I can't do this, dude. No. Okay.
I think I have pretty weird plane habits. They're not like obtrusive, but like I can't.
I have dinner in the fridge is the craziest thing I've ever. That's like my dad when we go to the beach. He brings like a turkey leg, like he's a king.
This has been ruined for me by recent listeria outbreaks. My favorite meal in New York City is a bodega ham and cheese on a roll with lettuce, tomato, mayo, and
I get that. That I get. I mean, because
that's a great thing to bring on a plane as well. No. But like that's been totally ruined for me by the listeria outbreak.
Is there a listeria? I didn't even know. I mean,
oh yeah, cold cuts are over. Just stay away from them.
Oh, this has been breaking news here on Chit Chat Wednesday. Okay, last question. Have you been to Corner Store?
No.
Okay, what do you think of the hype around? What do you think of like restaurant hype in general? And this is like I don't know if this is purely a New York story. I don't know if the TikTok...
It's an LA story too.
Right. I would probably... Any major city that has TikTokers roaming around trying to make money off of the algorithm will have this, where in a city, you see this place over and over on your feed, and it's like, I don't want to go, but now I have to go to see. How do you feel about this? I kind of get this like weird feeling where I need to go to like out, like I need to know if I hate it. What's that?
Had you heard of it before Taylor Swift went?
See, I think I heard about it because Taylor Swift. So Corner Store is a new restaurant that's by the Catch Restaurant Group, and it's in New York City, and it's been on. I think it's on my feed because of Taylor Swift, without mentioning Taylor Swift.
Yes,
like I think they go hand in hand.
She went twice in September. I think once she went with Gigi Hadid and others, and then she went with. On like a double date with her boyfriend and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. If you've been living under a rock for the last 14 months, her boyfriend is NFL celebrity Travis Kelce.
Well, hold on. Before you get into this, Blake Lively, is she... I mentioned this on my Pop Culture Thursday last week. It seems as though she's on like a...
She's having a swoon.
Well, she's trying to make people like her again.
Well, that's because people turned on her.
Right. It seems like her PR team is making quite an effort to make... her a likable person again.
Definitely.
I saw there was an article. It was like she was at Don Angie, and they're like, and she waited for 10 minutes in line, and I'm like,
it's amazing.
This is one of those moments where we're seeing them make the pasta in front of us. Like this is how you make a likable celebrity.
One thing that just occurred to me as you were saying that is like they live in Bedford, New York, which is like Upper Westchester, almost Connecticut. It's like really fancy. It's like only for very rich people. It's like the type of place that like the infrastructure of the town is so shitty that like you have to be really rich to make it work for you. Like it's not like a community driven place, right?
It's a village of. It's like I think
village
of
like
Bedford,
New York,
right? Like it's like I think of like Dover, Massachusetts. Like there's no like post office, like
right. Yeah. And like the schools aren't good, even though you're living in the suburbs.
Right.
They like come into the city like as like for the photo ops and like go out for dinner like a lot. Like it's sort of like how they do publicity and like stay in the public eye. I have a question for you. Do you like Ryan Reynolds? Like, do you find him likable? Because I'll just say I do not, but I think that it's actually like hard. I find him irritating, but I think that he in general is well liked, and like people like Deadpool, people like Wrexham. He's incredibly successful advertising agency. Like he's really successful and pretty well liked. So it's kind of interesting that like she doesn't automatically get the benefit of that.
To me, for them to be married
a long time, 4 kids,
he has to be they have to have something in common. Like for her to have all these stories. Her PR tour for that movie, like without knowing all of the story, I was just like from 30,000 feet, I was like, this is an unlikable person. Like everything I saw, like
and over the years, there's been a lot of that, and it's kind of been like elided. She's someone who doesn't talk to the press that much, and I think it's because she's like gives bad interviews. Like there's all these clips of her being rude or
right,
whatever. So I think like her trying to step out as like a producer and like someone who's like kind of like in charge versus just an actress hasn't gone well. And now they're just like on tour at Taylor Swift. They were like at 2 nights of the Eras tour. But this is a little far afield from do I want to go to corner store.
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation of like, because last week on Pop Culture Thursday, I looked up like Q rating. Q rating is just what is your likability amongst the public, and it is interesting to think like what is your what scratches your brain when you hear a name like Ryan Reynolds. I couldn't give an answer. Like I do like Deadpool, but like I mean I thought he was great in two guys, a girl, and a pizza place.
The Proposal is a great movie.
But he's been doing the same personality. I don't think he's ever acted. I think he plays himself in everything he's ever done. 2 guys, a girl, and a pizza place. He's the same guy he is in Deadpool as he is in the commercial for whatever phone company he owns. So like, I think I'm getting what I've seen, you know. And if someone's that like punchy and animated, I don't know if I would be able to. I think I'm getting the perfect version of him, like through a screen.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
I wonder what they're like as a couple. I do think like they've done fun like couples content like on Instagram and stuff. So
he makes fun of her a lot. Like that seems to be the nature of why people like them as a couple.
Taylor Swift like makes fun of him too. Like kind of it's cute. And like she's the godmother of their children, or at least 3 of them, I think.
They seem to be fantastic Hollywood business people.
Definitely. Well, he is for sure. I'm not sure she is, but he definitely is, yeah.
But to tie in with Taylor Swift where you are now like guarded by that likability. Totally.
You get her halo, it's like around them.
Right. So all this is to say is I got to go to corner store and this is not
Well, I feel like there's sort of like 4 or 5 restaurants that are constantly in the press and like as a result like even harder to get into, and that's like Via Carrata, Corner Store, Carbone. There's one other place like in that like little sliver of West Village like near King Street. I can't remember what it is, but like those
Via Carrata doesn't I think escaped the influencer of it all. Like I think like
yeah, they're like they keep it tight. It's like, oh, are you actually famous or are you actually rich? And like not like the influencer piece of it. But like those other ones aren't that good. I don't know. I actually haven't been to Carbone in New York, but like it's not John Vinny's, excuse me. Parm has a really similar menu, and like the signature dish of Carbone is like also basically available at Parm, like the spicy fusilli.
Right.
Parm's really easy to get into. I love Parm. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like
good.
I'm not really into like the celebrity endorsed restaurant trend, and like I don't know, it doesn't speak to me.
Right. For me, they're less celebrity endorsed. It's like when I see like 17 different women from Long Island review the pizza bites at Corner Store, I like want to go just for this like weird curiosity of like why, you know, how do these people like. I don't know. I guess with these reviews, I'm more interested in the review, like where I'm like, food reviews is kind of like the easiest video to like do well with.
Right. So universal.
It's so universal, and people want to go, what did you get? Like, what did you get is like a really interesting question. So, and then to see what the food looks like, to see what the vibe is, and then you kind of have this annoying voice over it with like, you gotta get and it's like, did you, like, I don't know how this relates to your life. How, you know, a $14 pizza bite means nothing to someone whose dad pays their rent.
Totally.
And me, you know, so I need to know. So whether it's good or not, you know.
What you're describing, I have no relationship to because I don't use TikTok. So I don't even know about these videos. I knew this about.
Right. And to me, like, if I'm on it, I'm in it. Like, that's why, like, the Taylor Swift, the only reason I'm getting all these about this restaurant is Taylor Swift went, which ignites the algorithm. And it's
exactly.
Like,
but, like, I mean, I hear about, like, standard formats on like, someone was telling me about, like, people just, like, cut, like, I forget what it was. Like, my colleagues are, like, telling me about, like, some, like, really mundane, weird shit that people do on TikTok, where basically, like, you kind of, like, steal footage and then, like, have, like, a side-by-side of, like, something you're doing, like, cutting cucumbers or like showing soap is like a way to like add your own imprint on it or something. All of this stuff is just like really not in my world. Maybe it would be better if I was like scrolling TikTok these days instead of Twitter and like wondering who's going to win the election. But like, but I'm just not on it.
It hurts me in a way, like, because to not acknowledge that the reason like people don't watch TV is they're on TikTok, because it just like, it's, you know, random. You just keep going. What's next? And it's hard to get off. Like, it's truly the heroin of social media. Like, you can't. You're like, what am I doing here still?
Right.
How did this happen?
I have no desire to participate in it, but I also am like, yeah, I'm missing out on like a lot of food culture and like just like different stuff. But I think I'm okay with that. Like, I think. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be good for me. And I watch a lot of TV and I'd like to keep it that way. So I don't want to like replace my TV time with TikTok time.
This is me saying to you as a friend, don't do it. You're good.
Everyone I know.
Everything you just described.
Yeah. It's just like, it's a no. And like Twitter, it's easier for me to drop off. I like have been like more on it in the last couple of weeks, but I can go like many months without engaging with Twitter. And like, I usually am happier when I am doing that.
Listen, Juliet, thank you for coming on. Such a pleasure.
Final note.
An uplifting final. No, I think it's nice for people to hear like that. Like, you know, that's a real feeling. Like, I'm not on TikTok. Am I missing out? No, you're not. Stay away. It's like, don't smoke cigarettes. My dad used to always talk about, like, we had like a family friend who started smoking cigarettes in their 40s, and he's like, what an idiot.
That's
like,
actually insane.
Well, that's like picking up TikTok right now. Like, I would say to you, that's the same as picking up cigarettes in your 40s. Everyone go listen to Bachelor Party Podcast as well as Food News with Juliet Litman. Thank you for coming on. Back next week. Boom.